Was David's rejection by the Philistines and return home a blessing in disguise? Despite his horrendous sins, like plundering and murdering whole villages, why did God bless him? If God loved a man with so many faults like David, could he love us too? Let's continue in 1 Samuel 30. Was it God's providence that David and his men were rejected and went home? And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag, and burned it with fire, and had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away, and went on their way. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives, and their sons, and their daughters were taken captives. Where did David go for strength, as even his own men began to turn against him? So David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept, until there was no strength in them to weep. Now David's 2 wives had been taken captive, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. Moreover, David was greatly distressed, because the people said to stone him, for all the people were embittered, each one because of his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in Yahweh, that is, the Lord, his God. Where did David go for an answer as to what to do about the situation? Then David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, please bring me the ephod. So Abiathar brought the ephod to David, and David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this band of raiders? Will I overtake them? And he said to him, pursue, for you will certainly overtake them, and you will certainly rescue everyone. So David left, he and the 600 men who were with him, and they came to the brook Besor, where some who were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and his 400 men, for 200 who were too exhausted to cross the brook Besor stayed behind. How did God bless David and his men in finding the perpetrators? They found an Egyptian in a field and brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and food to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisins. He ate and was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. David asked him, who do you belong to? Where do you come from? He said, I'm an Egyptian, the slave of an Amalekite. My master abandoned me when I became ill 3 days ago. We raided the Negev of the Kerethites, some territory belonging to Judah, and the Negev of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag. David asked him, can you lead me down to this raiding party? He answered, swear to me before God that you'll not kill me or hand me over to my master, and I will take you down to them. Did God give them victory in rescuing their lost family members? And when he'd brought him down, there they were, spread out over all the land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil which they'd taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. Then David attacked them from twilight until the evening of the next day. Not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. So David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives. And nothing of theirs was lacking, either small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything which they'd taken from them. David recovered all. Then David took all the flocks and herds they had driven before those other livestock, and said, this is David's spoil. Was David generous and kind in sharing the spoils taken from the raiders? Then David returned to the brook Bezor and met up with the 200 men who'd been left behind, because they were too exhausted to go with him. They went out to meet David and his men, and David greeted them joyfully. But some evil troublemakers among David's men said, "They didn't go with us, so they can't have any of the plunder we recovered. Give them their wives and children and tell them to be gone." But David said, "No, my brothers, don't be selfish with what the Lord has given us. He's kept us safe and helped us defeat the band of raiders that attacked us. Who will listen when you talk like this? We share and share alike, those who go to battle and those who guard the equipment." From then on, David made this a decree and regulation for Israel, and it's still followed today. When he arrived at Ziklag, David sent part of the plunder to the elders of Judah, who were his friends. "Here's a present for you, taken from the Lord's enemies," he said. The gifts were sent to the people of the following towns David had visited: Bethel, Ramoth Negev, Jatir, Aroah, Siphmoth, Eshtemoa, Rachel, the towns of the Jerahmeelites, the towns of the Kenites, Hormah, Borashan, Athak, Hebron, and all the other places David and his men had visited. If God loved and blessed a man with so many faults like David, could he also love us too? But God commends his own love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Was David's rejection by the Philistines and return home a blessing in disguise? Despite his horrendous sins, like plundering and murdering whole villages, why did God bless him? If God loved a man with so many faults like David, could he love us too? You decide.